All right, now we're moving on to the second major type of private network that Azure provides. It's called Expressroute. Now, Expressroute is very similar to a site-to-site private connection, but basically it's going to overcome some of the deficiencies of the site-to-site. It's a lot more expensive, but it is designed for big companies, mission-critical architectures, when you're dealing with lots of data, when you want your applications to be more in the cloud, these hybrid applications as well. Anything that's sort of critical, you can consider Expressroute as being a good candidate for. Now, one of the deficiencies that it overcomes is it does not use the public internet. Okay, and so you got the two things there. One is if you do have problems transferring your private company data, even if it's encrypted over the public internet, this is a private fiber connection between you and basically your ISP. It's called IXP. It's an Internet Exchange Point, but it's provided by big companies like AT&T, and you can pay AT&T to set up this private fiber line from your corporation network into AT&T, and that's a more secure connection for people who work with companies that won't allow them to transfer that information over the public internet. It's also a lot faster, whereas we've got limitations on the speed of point-to-point and point-to-site and site-to-site connections of 100 and 200 megabytes. Under Expressroute, the limitations are increased from the basic plan of 500 megabits per second. The standard plan is 1 gigabit per second, and the high performance plan is 2 gigabytes per second. And so if you are looking at a somewhat 10x difference between the speed of a standard VPN and Expressroute. A lot of times this is more sufficient for companies that have a lot of network that they want to run inside the cloud. Again, your company connects by private network to an ISP, and the ISP already exists to have this really fat pipe between Microsoft Azure Network, Microsoft Azure Data Center, and the ISP. So this is one of the options in terms of having your corporate network extended to the cloud. And certainly if you're going to rely on it and it needs to be fast and it's critical, you're going to have many servers up here and it's going to be a big fancy deal, then Expressroute is definitely the way to go. Obviously the pricing of Expressroute is a lot more expensive. You're going to be looking at somewhere in the $500 up to $50,000 a month, depending on your needs. But a lot of companies paying $50,000 a month, they used to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for dedicated hosting, and they're saving money using a place like Azure and connecting their corporate networks around the world to Azure is certainly worth it at that level. That's the first thing to know about Expressroute. Now, the other thing to know is this is just one of the configurations. Another configuration is you can have your servers hosted at this IXP. You do not have to have, obviously, your servers on site. You can just contact them. You can say, I want to connect to Azure and set me up some servers, and you'll have dedicated servers, okay, if you require them, but hosted within the IXP. Again, this is high-speed fiber that goes from your corporate network into the internet service provider, and high-speed fiber that already exists between Azure and the IXP. That's a second configuration for the IXP. You can have it hosted on premises at your site or have it hosted at their premises. Obviously, this is even much faster connection if these servers and the cloud need to talk to each other. The third configuration for Expressroute is called MPLS. Now, even without Azure being in the picture, if you've got multiple cities, multiple sites for your company, multiple networks, and you need them all talking to each other, this MPLS standard allows you to have connection from, let's say, your Chicago office to your New York office, from your New York office to your San Francisco office, San Francisco connect to Chicago, and everyone's connecting to each other. And Microsoft Azure will just act like an MPLS endpoint. So you can have all of your locations connecting to Azure using the MPLS protocol. So this very much fits into a lot of existing network topologies and technologies if you have networks that run on this. Microsoft Azure does provide this. Now again, it does cost more than typical VPN solutions, but if you're at this level and you've got multiple locations and you've got stuff that you want to host in the cloud and you've got networks around the world, you may already have this kind of technology set up, and it's just a matter of plugging in Azure to your existing MPLS network. And so that's Expressroute. You can see the difference between Expressroute and the site-to-site type of network, speed being one, privacy being another, and the support for multiple networks. Okay, even within this IXP route, you can have your offices, as long as they're close enough together, I guess, connecting to the same ISP, and that same ISP uses the same connection into Azure. That's the kind of difference that you'll see between Expressroute and your typical VPN connection. So for the exam, it's very important to know the differences. It's also very important to know the advantages of one over the other and all the different ways that Expressroute is supported.